feature by PennLive's Capital team. Joining me here is Charlie Thompson, Wallace McKelvey, and I'm Jan Murphy. And we're going to give you a weekly roundup of what we expect will be happening at the Capitol this week. And I think clearly the big news this week is the deal with Kathleen Kane.
Will she or won't she run for re-election in 2016 at the expiration of her term? She had one of her political advisors tell the AP that she's considering it, but she has not made her final decision. Meanwhile, Chuck Ardo, her spokesman, said that she does plan to run again. What do we think about this? Does she have a shot in 2016? She's facing a lot of challengers.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a lot of money on her chances, but like you said, I mean, it's kind of a damaged brand after criminal charges being filed against you,
and the clock is ticking on her right now, because January 26th is the date that she needs to start collecting petitions in order to run in the primary and the eventual election.
Yeah, someone said to me it might even be hard for her to get people to sign petitions for her this year, but I don't know. I would imagine that she can reach that threshold, but she may find that a lot of the people that were rallying to her support in 2012 just simply aren't there, and they've moved on to other candidates. I mean, especially if Josh Shapiro, the Montgomery County Commissioner, jumps in the race.
And Josh Shapiro hasn't even formally announced that he intends to run, and there are 3 other Democrats that are in contention, let alone some of the Republicans.
Right.
So you have a lot of competition, even just in the Democratic primary right now.
Yeah. So, you know, I would, the way Kathleen Kane has worked things lately, I would say check back in on the filing deadline for nominating petitions, and then we'll know for sure if she's running again or not.
Yeah.
But we also have the hearing this week with Kathleen Kane running.
Yeah, you have a Senate hearing this week, which could be very decisive. This involves the committee that was looking into her possible removal using a very kind of, most people aren't aware of this clause in the Constitution that's called the direct or the Senate address. And basically what it does, it allows Governor Tom Wolf to remove Kathleen Kane after a 2/3 vote of the full Senate. So what's happening this week is you have the Senate committee that's considering whether or not she's able to continue as Attorney General without a kind of an active law license. Her license was suspended last fall by the Supreme Court. And if this committee does decide to move forward, it would go to a full Senate vote potentially, and then on to Governor Tom Wolf. And this is somewhat unprecedented.
Yeah, I was going to say, Wallace, what do you think? This is kind of like political jazz improv?
Well, the last time this was done was way back in 1891.
Yeah.
So we don't really have a firm grasp of how this will even proceed. Like, there's not much precedent for it.
Yeah. I mean,
And I was talking with Senator Fulmer last week, and he said that it's an important decision because it will set precedent. And he said you have to be concerned of what happens if a future Attorney General does something that irritates the court and ends up getting his or her law license suspended. I mean, is this going to be something that we see happen all the time, and to get rid of an Attorney General? So they're really it's an important decision.
Right, and you know, one thing that's very telling about this is that nobody really knows. Depending on what the Senate does, it's going to probably launch another round of court challenges, because even the Senate's behavior about this has been like, well, this is really there's no precedent for this, so we're treating this like everything we do. We're kind of trying to set a precedent for how this mechanism is used in the future.
And while that's certainly going to occupy a lot of time this week, there's also the ongoing saga with the state budget. And just wondering, I mean, I know we have a fiscal code that the House is likely to be dealing with this week.
Yes.
And
the operator's manual for the budget, as some people have called it, is supposed to hit the floor in the House, and they'll be taking up a bill on non-preferred funding, which is the code name up here for appropriations for Penn State, Pitt, Temple, Lincoln University.
Jan, you want to explain that
Oh.
in one sentence? It's,
state-related universities, and Wallace has a hard time with that. I think the public generally does, but basically they're public universities, but they sometimes
they're essentially
operate in a
public universities that want to pretend like they're private universities when it suits them.
Well, okay.
Yeah, but the big news for those universities is that they stand to possibly gain something like $600 million total in state funding this week, which is another domino in the inevitable, hoped for closure of our state budget quagmire this year.
And I think the other thing that we're seeing happen this week is incumbent lawmakers are announcing and getting close to making their decision as to whether or not they're going to seek re-election. And gosh, last week we saw, we got Shirley Kitchen in the Senate, a longtime senator from Philadelphia, announcing she was going to be retiring. We Senator Vance, certainly from the Cumberland County, announced a few months ago now, I think, about that. In the House, we have Julie Harheit, Bill Adolph, John Payne, Sandra Major, Pete Daly. Today, Nick Kodak announced he was not going to be seeking re-election.
Yeah.
And,
Adolph, of course, is a leader member in the House Republican Caucus. He's the House Appropriations Chairman.
Now, how much do you think the budget played into some of these people, their decision not to continue on in office? Because there were a lot of long nights for us and for them here.
Yeah, I think that it clearly is a factor. I mean, I don't think any of them are going to say, "Oh, this just was it for me," you know. But I think it clearly, it's a factor in the minds of a few of these folks. But anyway, it'll be an interesting week, and we hope you join us back on Friday when we're going to try to recap what happened in the week during the week, highlights and things that we heard. So, see you Friday.
Thank you for joining us.